All right, welcome back to the Stutter Story podcast. In today's episode, I have a really important question for Pat. Should I switch to Claude Code from Cursor? So, if you've been following my story here on the channel, you've seen that I've pretty much only used Cursor exclusively. But honestly, I'm getting a lot of FOMO because there's a bunch of people online that are posting about using Claude Code, how Claude Code has changed their life. And so I saw a tweet that Pat posted a couple days ago saying that Claude Code was life changing for him. So I wanted to ask him why and to walk me through his workflow and see if he could change my mind. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the podcast. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's
All
talk
right.
about Claude Code today.
Yeah. So Pat, let me just pull this up quick. So I saw your tweet where you said the cursor was amazing. That's what you said. Cursor was amazing. Claude Code is life changing, and obviously, I wonder what's next. We're not going to talk about what's next. And then I also saw, just to quickly give color, I saw this other Reddit post that from a month ago where some guy wrote, "Claude Code changed my life," and he kind of gives this whole narrative. And I've been seeing some other people online. Our buddy Alex Finn, who came onto the channel, he's been posting all about Claude Code. And like I said in the intro, I'm feeling a little bit of FOMO
Yeah,
because I'm pretty exclusively on Cursor. I could talk about why. Pretty much just like that's the first one I used, and it's just kind of stuck on it. But I've been seeing all this Claude Code stuff, and I'm just like, hey, should I switch? Like, what's going on here? So, yeah, why is Claude Code life
yeah,
changing?
yeah. Well, how long did you spend learning Cursor? Because you're a beginner,
Oh,
right?
yeah, beginner. Realistically, like in terms of hours, probably like a week.
Yeah,
Like 40, 60 hours, something like that.
yeah,
Because I was really from scratch, like I never really used like any code editors or folder. It
yeah,
sounds so basic, but
yeah.
and that's why I like the cursor because I love the visual, the chat window, the code in the middle, the
Yeah.
folders on the left side. It makes sense to me.
So yeah, I mean, I've obviously used tools before Cursor, but I've been using Cursor for I don't know exactly how long, but I'm thinking it's almost a year. But I used to use VS Code before that, and then before that, other tools. And I just switched to Claude Code, so I can kind of give you perspective, the differences between Cursor and Claude Code, and what I like better about Claude Code from your perspective as someone who only knows Cursor and is considering. So I could share my screen right now and kind of just walk you through how I have my setup. And
Yeah.
then you can just ask questions based on that. Because I think I just kind of set it up based on a few different things I saw online. I'm definitely not a Claude Code expert, but in terms of what it can do, I mean, it's way faster than Cursor. And I think it's better for me. So I can kind of
Mm.
walk through that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I haven't. I've seen a bunch of videos or people that are posting. I haven't watched a bunch of them yet. Obviously, I should. So yeah, this would be great just to kind of,
Cool.
even if it's just for me. I want to know.
Okay, well let's do it. So yeah, that's the first thing is I actually still just use Cursor. And it's mainly
Mm.
out of convenience because Cursor is not just an AI generation tool. It's like a fork of VS Code. So it's an IDE. I forget what that acronym stands for, but it's basically like where all your code is. You can run terminal. You can see all your files. You can see all your changes. So I still use Cursor. And technically, I think I still pay for Cursor. I don't think I'm
Mm.
really using the Cursor features. I really don't have to, but I'm still using Cursor a little bit, which we'll get into. So that's the first thing I would say is like you're already using Cursor, so Claude Code is in the terminal. So I
Mm.
know software developers on here might be watching this thinking, okay, yeah, I know this. This is obvious. But for you, you're more of a beginner, and I think there are also beginners. So I just want to be cognizant of that, just to keep
So
things simple.
Claude doesn't have like this visual. Claude Code doesn't have
Yeah,
this
yeah. Claude Code
interface.
is, yep, exactly. Claude Code is terminal based. So instead of being this user interface that you can click through and drag things, Claude Code can't do any of that stuff. It's
Mm.
really just an input, and then it does a bunch of things, and it's really just a prompt, one single
Mm.
prompt. It does a bunch of things, and then you can continue to prompt it. So it's way different, and I
Mm.
think probably a little bit more advanced, but let me just jump into it real quick. So here I have the terminal. You can get this by doing terminal, new terminal in Cursor or in VS Code, or you can just do a raw terminal. Like if you go to terminal here, you could also do it there. But I like to do it inside Cursor because I also have access to all my files. So first thing you just run, you have to install it, which I won't do that now, but you can just go Google that on how to install it. You just run Claude. I like in the terminal. So I'll do that right now. I say, yes, I trust the files. And then now I'm in Claude. I can say, hey, go do something.
So you're just kind of chatting with it in the terminal instead of I'm used to like on the
Yeah.
it's just on the right side.
In Cursor, you have Command L where I can say, hey, go do something. This is like a user interface where I can click through things. I can do background and I can change the model and, I can add context and all that stuff. Cursor or Claude Code is like, hey, you tell me one thing and I'll figure it out. So you can run Claude to open it up in the terminal, but I have one little hack, which, you have to be careful when you do this. I think you do exit to get out of there. I don't even know. Control C. Run Claude, and then I do dangerously. So if you run this flag called dangerously skip permissions, again,
Sounds scary.
it's a dangerous thing to do, but it's kind of unworkable if you don't use this, or maybe if you're more beginner, you want to see all the changes. Because technically, if you told Claude, hey, go and delete my entire file system and nerf my computer, it's possible that it could do that, right? So if you run this, it is a dangerous move, but I think it's actually really not usable unless you do this. So that'll be my first tip that I learned. It took me some time to learn that and understand how to fix that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like kind of on Cursor. Try to keep going back to it. Is there's like a agent mode or whatever?
Yeah.
So is that kind of the same idea?
Yeah, sorta. Well, agent mode. Okay, so yeah, that is a good question. So if I say, "Hey, go do something," it'll go into agent mode. It'll start doing it, but then sometimes how it'll ask for your permission to do something.
Yeah, proceed. Yeah.
Basically, that's Claude Code's version of that is skipping all that asking for permission. So if you run dangerously skip permissions, it will just do it and it won't ask for your permission. I think there's a setting for Cursor on how to do that. But I mean, let's just try it. Hey, go delete my repo. Let's see what happens. I'm guessing that
Starter story goes dark.
I want to make sure I understand what you're asking for before I take any action. Okay, that's not what I was looking for it to do. But basically, there's a little thing that will prompt up and it will ask you to run it. Say like, run a script to delete, run a script to verify my homepage is working.
Sometimes, yeah, I've gotten there where it says like, "Do you want to run?" Then you click yes or no.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Basically, by running dangerously skip permissions, you're skipping that, but it makes it way faster. So it's able to just like do a bunch of things behind this. And that's, I think, probably my first big thing that I personally like about Claude Code is that it does a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. Cursor's very verbose. Look how verbose Cursor is right here.
Yeah.
I can't read all this. I mean, you tell me what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, yeah, to be honest, when I'm using Cursor, it gives me all this stuff. 80% of the time, if not more, I don't read it. I just, which is probably like, if someone's watching it who's like a developer or something, they're probably like, dude, your code is probably all buggy and stuff. Because I just basically click accept.
Right.
Accept all changes.
Yep.
And half the time, more than half the time, I don't know what it did because I start reading it and I get a little lost and I'm just like, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting thought. I mean, okay, so the thing here is, okay, so this is the verify homepage script that it created. Here's the auto run. Ask every time versus auto run. So it looks like I already had that on. Maybe that was a setting that I already had turned on in my Cursor, but that's that version of that, basically.
Yeah. Okay. But you're saying dangerously skip is similar.
Yeah. It's basically the same thing, but it also like doesn't really let you know what it does. So let's just run that same query in Claude Code and see what happens. Okay, but first let's look at what Cursor did. It has a lot here, right? It's showing me the scripts it ran. It it's just very verbose, right? There's a lot going on right here.
Mm,
Do I really care about knowing all of this stuff? I personally don't. I do have a little bit
mm,
more of a software development background, so I kind of know what it's trying to do.
mm.
For me personally, I don't really care what it's trying to do. I just care that it's getting it done. So
Yeah.
I'll show you what the same uh, script does in Claude Code. So I'm going to run that in Claude Code, and it does have what I like about it is it kind of shows you its like logic of thinking,
Mm.
and it creates these to-dos. Have you seen these?
I've seen people post about that or talk
Yeah.
about like if you give it a plan or a 3-step plan or something like that, it'll like make the plan and do it.
Yeah.
Um,
But I didn't give it a plan. It took what I said, which was go run a script, and then it created a plan, which I think is actually
mm,
way better.
mm,
It created its little to-dos plan to do this, and it's doing all this stuff. But for
mm,
some reason, I don't feel the need to go and read through all of it.
mm.
It just it does the same thing essentially, right?
Mm.
But
Sure.
it feels like I don't like it kind of is going back to its to-dos a lot. It's kind of showing
Yeah.
how it's thinking, and then it's just giving me an output, and that's it.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
So I don't know what you think about that.
I think the intimidating part is the terminal
Yeah.
for me. Like, for example, I was making my mobile app and I would say, hey, cursor, I need you to make this box in the app
Yeah.
so that when users do this, XYZ, that, this is the outcome I want. And it would kind of go do it. Could you do the same thing here or are you like, is it different? I
Yeah.
guess.
I think, yes, you can do the same thing. It gets the same job done that Cursor does, but it does it faster. I really do think it does it faster and more accurate. Now, I don't know exactly how that is. Maybe they have a better model. I don't know
Sure.
why it's better. I have some theories, but I do think it's better. And that would be the
Mm,
main reason why I think Claude Code is better is that I'm able to get more done. I'm able to ship more, and I'm able to feel more confident that the AI is doing a good job. So, I mean, let's try it real quick. I
yeah.
will show you the app that I'm working on right now, which is my localhost 3000. You said we wanted to add a box to the app,
Yeah. Or something, like an input box or something,
an
I
input box.
guess. Yeah.
Let's try it. Can you add an input box on the homepage? What are we adding to the input box?
Just like for you, where users can like type a question or something. I don't know.
Where users type a question, and then once they submit, it goes to an answers page where we question gets answered. I would say just for simplicity's sake, no need to use AI. Just make up a fake answer to set up the structure of our app. This is a brand new app that I just created.
Hmm.
This is the Claude Code prompt we're going to put in there, and I'm thinking it's going to be a lot faster than. I mean, it would be cool if we benchmarked it
Yeah.
on how fast it did it. But let's try this. I
So
would.
essentially, it's a very similar type of like experience where you're not exactly like you're just chatting with it in the same way, in the same conversational way that maybe I'm doing it in Cursor.
It's basically the same thing, and that's kind of I think something we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
Is that like it does the same thing for someone like me? Claude Code is a lot better. I feel like Claude Code is just not a lot better, but it's just faster and it gets less errors and it does it quickly. And when I'm doing something more complex, here's another thing that I think is interesting. I feel like in Cursor, you tell me this, do you have to kind of be in the right file to make changes for it? Or do you feel that you can just one shot it with no context and it can fix your thing?
Oh, I definitely think you need to have like that at context thing enabled because, and maybe it's updated in the last month, but early on when I was building my mobile app, I wouldn't add the context and it would get all screwed up
Yeah.
until I saw something online that said, oh, make sure you add the context or like
Right.
kind of point it to, whatever folder you're working in so that it could know what it's talking about, I
Right.
guess, or like
And
know what you want.
that's one of the things that I didn't necessarily verbalize yet because I didn't even think about it. But now looking back at Cursor, that feels like the Stone Age because I can prompt it There's no way to add there probably is a way to do it,
Mm,
but you don't need to add context with Claude Code. There's something better about the model where you can just say, hey, and this is a very simple app that hasn't been created, but in Starter Story, it's a very complex repository that has lots of stuff in it. I can usually one shot it and it'll go find what I'm talking about. That would be the first thing, is that you don't need context, which is nice. It allows you to be lazier. You don't need to go find the file and try to kind of, I don't say the word is like kind of maneuver your way through the AI. You kind of just like can just prompt it. The other thing that I want to share too is, I think is really cool, and I don't know, it's more of like a personal thing. I feel like Claude Code does more. It just does more. Maybe it feels like it has more liberty to do things, and it takes a little bit longer. It does a better job, and it's kind of nice. Like I'll prompt it like to actually create a whole feature. Like sometimes I feel like to go to Cursor, you don't tell it to create a feature. You tell it to do 10 steps of a feature. I mean, tell me your
mm-hmm.
experience with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of biasing towards something I feel like I learned in that Alex Finn video we did on the main channel, where he kind of said like cursor will mess up, and I experienced this too. If you gave it like one long prompt and said, okay, I want to do this, in my experience, it really messed that up. And so instead I had to, okay, first do this, let that finish,
Yeah.
then do this, let that finish, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm kind of not, when I'm working in Cursor, I have to like set aside an hour to do it, because which I mean you probably should, right? Like I'm assuming you're gonna say you could run it and then kind of go do something and then it'll keep working in the background. But I can't do that with Cursor. Like I have to kind of make time for it.
Yep.
Really, a lot of time for it.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, it's just more involved. Like you're more
Yeah.
involved in the thinking process. This is where Cursor or Claude Code could potentially be different. You can give it that feature, and I will just like give you my actual workflow right now. I'll ask it to do the feature. It's a little bit more complex. So if it's a 10-step process in Cursor, I'm giving it the first 8 steps that I would do in Cursor in Claude Code in one go. And then I literally get up and I go and do something around the house. I go, put some chicken in the air fryer, or I go like tidy up, or I take my dog for a walk. And then it sometimes takes a while. Like sometimes it takes 5-10 minutes to do a task, but I can trust that it's like kind of figuring itself out as it goes, and it's like thinking better. So like I will literally go put this in, and I will get up out of my chair and I'll just go walk around. And I'll like go do stuff around the house. I think one of the things that's interesting about these tools is they change how we work. So before, you got to be like zoned in doing deep work. Now AI tools, especially Claude Code, has made it so it's more like, I'm more delegating to you. You're my junior programmer. And maybe that's only because I have software engineering experience, but I really just delegate this to Claude Code. And then I told you you do the first 8 steps. I'm going to do the last 2 steps, and then I'm going to test it. Because the testing is the next thing that's like that it can't really be done. You shouldn't commit and push up code that isn't tested. It's changing the way that I work, which is kind of like a mind fuck for me right now, because I've been so into the deep work thing and giving it every little step and like wanting full control of things. But Claude Code is changing how I work.
Cool. A question that's coming to mind is like, yeah, I kind of want to see what it did, if it did it.
Let's see. Okay, so that worked. And obviously this is very simple.
Sure.
But what is the meaning of life? What's also cool about Claude Code, and it's a real hack that I had to learn by tweeting about it, but if you do Command, Control, Shift 4, take a screenshot of your app. I like to take the whole context because Claude Code will know what page you're on. And I will make sure you do, it's 4 buttons. Command, Control, Shift, and 4, because typically I would just do Command, Shift, 4. But this will copy it to your clipboard, and you go back to Claude Code, and you do Control, not Command, Control V, and then it pastes the image there, because it's command line. It's a little different, right? I think you can drag images in, but this is the fastest way. And I'll say the submit button doesn't work. Can you fix that and go to a new page on submit where the question is answered? Then I'll get up and I'll say, yo, Bernie, he's down here right now. Let's go for a walk. And I'm going to think about more important things than coding. How am I going to market my app? And, all these things. It's just a really different way of working, which I never really thought about until we kind of been walking through it.
Yeah. One of my other questions, and then obviously we'll kind of shift the conversation a little bit, is why do you use it in Cursor? Like that, I think as I've been watching people online, I'm kind of like, I've seen a lot of people say that, like, oh, just use it in Cursor, but you do the whole like new terminal thing, run Claude. And that's where I've been struggling to be like, well, why wouldn't I just keep doing the same thing? Yeah, well, why do you keep using it in
Yeah,
Cursor,
I
I
mean,
guess?
the main point is mainly out of laziness. Cursor did something smart, which is they forked VS Code, which was the IDE I was already using. So I could go re-download VS Code, but like I don't really have any incentive to do that. This is also just VS Code on a little bit of steroids. The second
Mm,
thing would be that I do sometimes still use Cursor if
mm,
I maybe want that more verbose thing going on
sure.
here. Or maybe I want to ask it something. Like I feel like
Mm,
I haven't really figured out how to use Claude Code to ask it questions, but I might use them in tandem. Right now it's building my app, but then I also might go over here and say like, what do you think of my app? If I'm being truly honest, I'm using Cursor like once, I'm prompting Cursor maybe once or twice a day when I used to use it for everything. So I don't really use it for a lot. So it's mainly out of laziness. You know, my guess is also Cursors, they're freaking out right now about
mm,
Claude Code, and they're probably going to make, you know, they're a huge company and they got a lot of funding. So they're probably going to do some dope stuff too,
mm,
try to compete. So, and that's kind of what I think is also interesting is like there's lots of different AI tools, right? That
yeah.
solve different purposes. I imagine that in a year, I'm going to be using 10 different AI tools. One of them is going to be testing my app. One of them is going to be marketing my app. One of them is going to be building my app. Another one's going to be fixing bugs. So, and they're going to be all built by different companies, right? There's no one's going to win this race. I think just Claude Code kind of just edged out a little bit in front.
That is something I struggle with is like the amount of tools. There's Cursor, which I've mostly have used. There's Lovable that I've kind of played around with. There's Windsurf that I've never used but has supposedly lots of users. There's a bunch of other little ones like that I know exist out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyways, I feel like, one of our points as we zoom out is like, is this the right tool? Like,
Yeah.
should I be using this? I guess that's the main question, right? Okay, should I be using Claude Code versus Cursor versus Lovable versus Windsurf versus GitHub Copilot or
Right.
whatever the differences
Right.
are? What do you think about that? Should somebody switch?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good question. I know that this podcast that we're recording right now is all about should I switch to Claude Code? But I think also if you're spending a lot of time thinking about if you should switch to Claude Code, you might be thinking about the wrong things. And there's a lot of FOMO around that too. Like, am I using the right tool? Or this
Yeah.
new tool came out. I don't know how to use this tool. I might lose out. I might get behind. I think there's a lot of actually problems with that, right? I mean,
I mean, I feel that that's the kind of one of the reasons I was like, let's talk about this, because I'm like, could I do it better, faster, whatever? Am
yeah.
I doing it wrong?
And I think, yeah, I think that's a really kind of dangerous place to be. And that's why I think it's good to talk about this is look, Claude Code is awesome. We can nerd out on these tools all day. But if Claude Code didn't exist or there is something else or there's something else comes out, I would still be doing the same things that I'm already doing. Like I was doing building apps, building cool stuff, using AI with Cursor. If Claude Code didn't exist, I would be okay. I would still be focused on building stuff, talking to users, creating content, distribution. I think a lot of times these tools can be a big distraction.
Mm.
What I like about AI tools is that they're fairly easy to learn, but you have to kind of make that judgment call on like, should I spend the time to learn this? How much is this going to set me back to go and learn this tool?
That's a good point I'm thinking about, because I just posted on X yesterday a screenshot of I fear I may be about to waste dozens of hours learning how to use this thing. you know and he has some comments were like, yeah, you should do it or you shouldn't do it or whatever. um and I feel like, and then today I posted this thing because it's kind of where I'm at right now. I was like, I don't exactly know what to do next with my personal little mobile app, you
Yep.
know and that's kind of, I think the point you're trying to make is like, I am probably focused too much on like, I had a thought like, should I redo the whole app but do it in Claude versus Cursor?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I feel like what you're saying is like, that's probably the wrong thing to think about
Yeah. What
to some
feels
degree.
I think that's a really, really kind of interesting point is like I think the question I would ask you is like, what feels scarier? Well, if there's just two questions, should I rebuild in Claude Code or what do I do next with my app? What feels scarier? What feels more unknown between those two questions?
I mean, for sure, what should I do next?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
for building or whatever, it's like I would know what to do, kind of. Like I would say, okay, I did it before, I've done it twice. Now I'm just gonna
Yeah.
shift how I did it in there
Yep.
into this new tool. And so
These,
that feels intimidating because it's a new tool, but I know what to do. The marketing piece, or like what do I do next, is like or where do I post, or who do I talk to, or like
yeah.
where's the tool for marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah, which there's a lot obviously,
Yeah.
but where's the hack?
Yeah.
Cursor and Claude Code feel a little bit like a hack
Yeah.
to build something. Doesn't feel like there's a huge hack for marketing. I'm sure somebody
Yeah.
watching is like, well, there is, do this, that, but that's kind of what feels scarier.
These tools or the FOMO around the tools can be a form of procrastination around what really needs to get done. Like imagine if you could spend a week learning Claude Code, or you could spend a week figuring out how to get 100 customers. What would benefit you more in the long run?
I know the answer, Pat.
Yeah.
Customers.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's totally right. And you've talked about that a lot. It's like, even with like marketing or whatever, it's like you could market at random or you could market to your target. What's most
Yep.
effective? And in this
Yep.
case, it's a similar tangential question, which is, yeah, should I spend 40 hours learning or Claude Code like I did with Cursor? I mean, maybe. Like maybe it's beneficial to some degree. But now that I have something, I probably need to actually run it to the end that I can,
Yep.
or that I know in terms of marketing, which would really at this point be step zero. That is more beneficial long run. And I think I mean, just to make that, it really emphasize that point is, I feel like I've definitely fallen into that trap where I'm like, oh, this tool, that's shiny, that's cool, that's new.
Yeah.
Let me try this. Let me switch that. Like I tried Lovable for a while early on, and then I was like, someone posted about Cursor, and I was like, oh, Cursor looks cool. And over the past few months, I've been in and out of like different tools, V0, Bolt, Replit, kind of thing.
That is interesting. Yet you mentioned Lovable. I don't know if you've seen some of the
Yeah.
flack they've been getting. I mean, apparently they have $100 million ARR business.
Yeah,
And
I saw a couple tweets. I'll pull them up as you're talking.
it keeps coming up.
Fastest ever
Yeah.
company to 100 million,
Fastest from 1 million to 100 million.
or 1
So
minute to
it
100 million.
must be, if it was 0 to 100, maybe it's not, but I thought that was.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen that, and then I've seen other people posting like, I don't know anyone who uses
Right.
Lovable,
Right.
and then I think I saw this one from Noah Kagan, who I like. He's like, it's amazing. Lovable is a $2 billion company. I haven't seen one person using it.
Yep.
And then people obviously posting, here's my vibe code stack or whatever. Or what do you think about that?
I think people need to get the hell out of their little bubble because you ain't going to build. Sorry, I'll go too crazy on that. But people think that the world revolves around their tiny Twitter circle. Twitter is an
Sure.
algorithm that serves you,
Sure.
and you think it's the whole world. You need to like zoom out for a second.
Yeah.
Like it is possible that Lovable is lying, or they have some sort of scheme going on where they pumped a bunch of ads. I don't know, whatever it is. But there are a lot of companies out there that you wouldn't believe what their revenue is. I mean, they're just in a different space. HubSpot is a great example of that, right? Like I don't use HubSpot. I like to use Notion. And everyone I know uses Notion. I don't really know a whole lot of people using HubSpot. But I also know that HubSpot is a massive company for a different world, a different type of audience. That I think they make billions of dollars per year. And if you kind of get stuck in your own bubble, I think that's a really also dangerous place to be in terms of talking to customers and building something that's useful for customers, is maybe stepping outside of your world and going into your customers' world. That's a different topic. But
Sure.
I think it also shows how big this AI coding and building space is. There's a lot of tools. There's Cursor, Claude Code, Lovable, and a lot more that are billion-dollar companies, and you don't even know a single person using it. That actually makes me even more excited because it shows how big this space is.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how when you say that, like the low circle, like everyone I see on Twitter is using Cursor or Claude Code right now. I don't see anyone using the others, but that's that little circle thing. And then, yeah, I think that ultimate point of like the tools are like one lever, to get you to a certain place. And then there's a whole another world, like after you build the thing that like, like just matters probably way more than like which IDE to use or whatever, which by the way, IDE means,
Something development environment.
yeah. Integrated development environment. For all
Fancy
the
word for
for all
code
the
editor.
nerds out there. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's been kind of interesting for me to kind of watch your workflow, but then obviously get to the main point. I
Yeah.
think it got me a lot to think about. I don't know if I'll. So maybe that the to answer the question, like, should I switch? What would
Yeah.
you say?
I would say do what works for you. There's definitely a balance between like having fun and learning
Yeah.
something new, but the main goal is you shipping a product, you getting customers, you talking to customers, and you just continuing to build. So use
Mm,
what tools work for you. If Cursor is working for you right now, just keep going. Don't go and set yourself back a week or two or a
yeah.
month because you're going to get some marginal increases in your code editor
Mm,
or your coding workflow. You talking to one customer is worth more than you learning, spending 2 weeks learning a tool, right? I really
yeah.
do think that you working on a couple marketing posts is worth way more than getting a little bit speedier in the development process.
Yeah, it's a good point. Cool. I
What,
like that. I
what
like
do you
that. I like where we ended there.
what's your plan? Or what's your decision?
I kind of it's like what's the I feel like I gotta take my vitamins or something, where I'm like, at the beginning of this conversation, I was a little bit like, dude, I'm gonna use Claude Code after this, and maybe I still will just to mess around, like you said. But yeah, at the end of the day, like what's actually more important is not that.
Yeah.
I probably will mess around with it a little bit, but I know if I get too into it, I'm gonna just like it'll be a month, and I'll just be playing around with Cloud Code and not marketing, not talking to users, things like that. So yeah, I think a little bit of both, but I'll lean towards like probably not switching too much yet, and then seeing kind of where it takes me. Cool.
Cool. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in today. Let us know in the comments if you're what tool you're using, if you're planning on switching, and or any other feedback you have for us. That's been the Star Story podcast. Oh, one last thing before we leave is, we'll leave a link in the description to Star Story build. If you are somewhere in the beginning, we're trying to figure out maybe you haven't used any tool, and you're trying to figure out where to start. You can start by using taking the program. We'll outline kind of some easy ways that you can use AI to build your first idea. So we'll leave that link in the description as well. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
See ya.